What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Matthew Bellman and Ryan Kostrowski from the DFS 5-Pack. Yesterday, we kicked it off with sports coming back. I know I'm all smiles. I know Bellman's all smiles. And I would say with good confidence that a good number of you are probably in the same boat. We did a little DK discussion yesterday, and we are going to shimmy on over to the Thursday baseball matchups and discuss overlay fantasy sports. Been a partner of the show now for a while, over the last year. And with sports back, let's start talking about them.
Yeah, man, we're hyped. Not only DraftKings, we got overlay. We were loving overlay before the sports break. I'm sure you remember that big jackpot. We were going after it hard. So at some point, we'll get one of those again, too.
Well, the NBA jackpot, and NBA starts not that far in the future, is $18,000. So like that one's still up there.
Wow, yeah.
Baseball's a little bit smaller. But it's the start of the season, so it hasn't had the opportunity to build yet. Unless somebody wins it, it will continue to build. I mean, don't get me wrong. After going through the last few months of almost no income, I will happily take a $1,500 top prize and the $22 main one. I'd be happy with the $180 right now, but it is just good to have sports back. It's good to be talking to you, my man. And it's good to have all you guys out there listening. Click the thumbs up if you could. And I would highly encourage anybody who never, played before, get onto overlay and give it a whirl. If on days you don't have time for DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever it is, this is a great way to get some skin in the game. You can go a little bit more off a gut feel because they give you a lot of really even matchups to pick from. We'll break down a couple of those right now. But great opportunity to have something to root for, and sometimes you just don't have time to worry about late scratches.
For sure. And then just to touch on it again, because I know it's not available for baseball because it's the start of the season, but that $18K jackpot, I mean, that's crazy. We talked about this a lot before the shutdown happened. Like, there's no contest in the fantasy world like this where you have the upside that this one does.
Amen. So we'll start at the top. We got a couple of MLB's top aces in this first matchup. Defending champion Washington Nationals matched up against a lot of people's World Series favorites, the New York Yankees. What a great way to get the season started. Talks about MLB just doing it right on this one. This is a great matchup to get the season started.
I mean, it doesn't get much better. Arguably, the two top pitchers in baseball, the world champions against the New York Yankees. So it doesn't get much bigger than that.
Yeah, and I'm notoriously known as a Yankee hater, no question about it. But we can't deny that the Yankees are one of the Mount Rushmore teams of sports all time in any sport. Huge following. Tons of rings, everything to go along with it. Lots of love throughout the United States, going up against the Washington Nationals, going to be defending World Series champs. Just a great way to get it started. So I will de facto over to you, my man. Mad Max Scherzer taking on Garrett Cole. Where are you going in this matchup if you have to choose? And I already know the answer is this is probably not one of your favorites.
It's definitely not one of my favorites. I will say I hardly ever will pick against Scherzer anywhere ever because that's just my guy. I love him. I am a little bit skeptical of picking him here, though, because, I was reading about how he struggled a bit in his, the last time he took the mound. His velocity wasn't nearly, what we're accustomed to it being. And I think that was the last time he's going to pitch before Thursday night. Now, that might be nothing because he might have just been warming up and we have no idea. We just don't have much to go off of, though. Reading that stuff didn't make me more likely to take Scherzer. I just can't see myself going against him, though, so I'll just skip it.
All right. And I'm with you. It's not one I'm lining up to pick. And if you guys are new to the Overlay website, that is something to reiterate. They give you a lot of matchups. You only have to select your favorites and just make sure that you have 12 in there and then you pick some alternates. So I'm not dying to pick Max Scherzer versus Garrett Cole, but picking hitters isn't exactly the easiest thing either. So I don't know if I'll have it in there. I am going to ride with Max Scherzer on this one. And it's close because I don't ever want to pick against Garrett Cole. And my reason being is I think Max will take, he's going to have the home field advantage. It's going to be a little riled up. And while that could possibly be negative, a guy like him, a seasoned veteran, I'm not as worried about it. I did not know the things you just said. And I'll be honest, I'm just going to take a leap of faith right here and assume that he was just getting warmed up for the season and wasn't giving it the full go. And if I run out there the next day and I'm watching this and he's only throwing 89, 90 miles an hour, I'm not going to feel good about my pick.
That's one of those things where it can be sometimes too much. Like,
sure.
Sometimes it's better off how you didn't know that because it probably doesn't mean anything. we just don't have much info to go off of right now. So anything I'm reading, I'm kind of taking it in. You know what I mean?
Right. And we've had like the narrative debate on like basketball and football games before. And sometimes people can look so hard into something like, oh, Max loves Wheaties, but the other day his favorite grocery store was all out of Wheaties cereal. So I think he's going to be pissed off. Like that doesn't really play out to me. But I'm with you. Like maybe hearing that could be a way to be wrong. Or maybe you're right. I don't really know. It's hard because we do not have great information right now.
Exactly.
So I'll take the leap of faith, but I have absolutely no idea. And who does like picking against Garrett Cole? Nobody. Why? Because if Cole's on for his news team, like he could mow down an all-star team.
I mean, yeah, he's awesome. A lot of people would argue that he's been better than Scherzer, at least last year. So he's awesome. There's a reason it's a question.
Especially from a fantasy perspective, because as great as Max is, accumulating strikeouts while he's out there, Cole's the one guy better.
For sure. And I mean, you also have Cole. There is no narrative really, in my opinion, but the Nationals did just take out Houston, did just take out his team. So there might be a little extra going for Cole. Who knows?
Or he's a little nervous first start with the Yankees. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to look at it, but the one thing that we can agree on here is none of it's really a big deal, right? Mm-hmm. All these things, these two guys are great. They don't go out there very often and not be great. This matchup very easily could be decided by something like a blooper just falls in, right?
For sure.
Classic baseball. All right, let's mosey on down the list. Surprising power surge last year for DJ LeMahieu. I don't expect him to replicate that, but you never really know. Going up against the guy that we talked about for the DK evaluation yesterday that we kind of like is a little bit of a sleeper on that website, which is Trey Turner. Where are you going with this one, young man, or do you want me to go first?
Give me Trey Turner all day. This might be my favorite one on the board.
Damn, I love the conviction. I'm also going with Trey Turner. I agree with you. I don't know if I can go as aggressively as favorite one on the board, but I'm definitely with you. No arguments, no disagreement right here. I just like the idea of him maybe drawing a walk and stealing a base. And in the game that I don't expect a lot of offense, that might be all we need.
I mean, here's my question. There isn't much to like about either of these guys, right? Because they're facing Cole and Scherzer. But what you just said is reason to like. There's something to like about Turner in that he's fast. And if he gets on base, he could likely steal a base, which is Cole's weak spot. There isn't anything for LeMahieu that I can grab onto.
No. Scherzer's tough on righties. I mean, he's really good. Garrett Cole's also very good. But in a low-scoring matchup like this, with a guy who gives up stolen bases very easily, I mean, if Trey Turner can draw a walk or get hit by a pitch or reach on an air, he's going.
This doesn't really matter to me because it's one baseball game. So I don't like to look at it like, oh, this guy is better than this guy. But I also happen to think that Trey Turner is better than LeMahieu. So I'll take it.
Especially from fantasy, right? Because all those stolen bases. I mean, they're pretty equal on power last year, but I would still say Turner has more power from what we've seen throughout the early portion of his career. LeMahieu's a little bit of a better average hitter maybe, but that's about it.
Agreed.
It's subtle. The one argument I could make for LeMahieu, Washington's bullpen is weaker than the New York Yankees. The Yankees have a phenomenal bullpen. So that's about it, though.
True.
All right, Aaron Judge versus Gleyber Torres. This is one that's a tough pick. I mean, I know Judge might have the slightly bigger name still, but Gleyber Torres is a legit, superstar in the making. So I would define this one as a coin flip. Any thoughts on you?
I mean, this is a really tough one. That one I'm really likely to choose. I lean Torres because I think most people will pick Judge.
See, that's a good idea. So let's kind of offshoot on that just general idea for just 1 second for people who might be new to the website. This is not one that often rewards the contrarian play. And what we mean by that, this is not like the big GPPs that you play on DK where you can hope for somebody to falter and the field falters and you fight the right stack, you can win big money. Here, more often than not, you're just picking your favorite ones because you're trying to get everything right. However, in the event that you're just trying to finish in the top 10% to get that 9 times your buy-in, if you have a feeling that everybody will go Judge just because he's the bigger name and maybe even because he's listed first, and you think it's a coin flip, not a bad idea to go contrarian right there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's a true coin flip. So, yeah.
All right, Stanton versus Sanchez.
This is another really tough one. I'm going to buy into the Sanchez hype that he's gotten in shape this offseason, that he's looking good, and he is productive day one. So give me Sanchez, but I don't like it.
I don't like it either. I'm going to go with Stanton. I think if all guys are playing up to their ability, I think Stanton's just a little bit better. I expect him to be a little bit higher in the lineup, possibly another at bat. He's got a couple career bombs off Max Scherzer, and just a very, very small narrative call that really doesn't mean anything. So it's more just looking for anything. It's desperation, if anything like that. Stanton's going back to a park he's probably a little bit more familiar with, having played there a few times.
True. Good point.
It's desperate, right? Like, you're coming up for a reason that doesn't really have a great reasoning behind it. But when you get these coin flips like this, you got to come up with something.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Brett Gardner versus Luke Voigt. I have to wait out the starting lineup on this one.
Yeah, if they're both like starting, I'm going to take Gardner. Just, easier matchup against Scherzer. Lefty.
Especially, if Gardner's batting closer to the top of the lineup, he's a guy that I could see leading off or being in the 9 hole. If Voigt was batting 5th and Gardner was 9th, well, then I'd really think about it. But I guess gun to head, I would choose Gardner as well.
Yep.
Okay, but just the lefty portion, right?
That I think is the biggest thing.
Okay, I'm with you. I agree with you. All right, Aaron Hicks versus Gio Urshela. Give me Aaron Hicks again. Lefty. Actually, I can't remember. Is Urshela righty or lefty?
Urshela's a righty, and Hicks is a switch hitter.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I'll take Hicks in this situation. Switch hitter. You can play the matchup throughout the game.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% here. I don't even know if Urshela's going to start. He might, but so good and hard.
Right. And Urshela had a great season last year, but I still think we think Aaron Hicks is a better player overall.
No doubt. 100%.
All right, Adam Eaton versus Starlin Castro. Here's another one. Give me the lefty.
Same. Agreed.
I lied. I think I just found your favorite one on the board.
The next one just seems too easy. So I literally think, kind of what we talked with LeMahieu. Like, it's definitely getting off the board. Soto, is obviously the easiest one on paper here, right?
Right. Doesn't mean he wins, of course, because it's baseball, and that's why you love the contrarian aspect of it so much. But quite frankly, this is... Nope. Actually, I see one lower that I forgot about already. That's even easier. I'll take Soto. Yeah. It's just one for me. Like, even if you get it wrong, you're not losing anything. And I don't like the benefit of trying to go with Eric Thames, who is very capable of striking out 4 times.
Agreed. I think maybe you just lock in Soto and move on here.
Soto's a top 20 hitter in baseball probably already, right? Eric Thames is probably not top 100.
Agreed, all the way around.
So, all right, Carter Kieboom versus Michael A. Taylor. This is another one. No guarantee this one's even on the board, so I wouldn't put too much thought into it at this point, and I'd want to see a starting lineup.
Same. I'm going to go Kieboom, though. He's just a better hitter. Taylor has kind of stayed around for the past couple of years, but he's nothing special. Kieboom is supposedly really good, so assuming they both make the starting lineup, I'll go Kieboom here, but not excited about it.
If Taylor was an everyday player, he'd be a 20-20 guy, but he'd still only be batting 200.
Exactly.
He can hit for a little power. He can steal a few bases. He's just not a very good hitter, though.
He reminds me of like Cameron Maybin.
Yeah, a poor man's Cameron Maybin.
Yes, for sure.
All right, so the next one up is even easier. Mike Yastrzemski versus Mookie Betts. There's nothing even to talk about here. Mookie Betts is a legitimate, MVP candidate every single year, and Mike Yastrzemski isn't. And Mookie Betts is the better matchup.
It's hard to fathom how this became a question, to be honest.
I think the Mookie Betts and Juan Soto picks are the 2 easiest ones on the board, no questions about it. And I would just guess, I think they're both going to be 100% owned.
I could see that.
And you don't get a lot of that. Baseball's different, though, than like on a 2-game slate, especially because there's just not that many even matchups out there.
For sure. No doubt about that as well.
Now, actually, there's another one we're going to get to here in a second because Bellinger over Hunter Pence is another one. But Max Muncy versus Justin Turner, that's a good matchup.
I like Turner more.
Okay. Any specific reason how come?
Not really. I think you're kind of – it's 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. They're both very similar. They're both good hitters. I think a lot of people will look at that lefty, that Muncy's a lefty, and choose him here. Turner's good against righties, and I trust him. just as much, if not more than Muncy.
Okay. Muncy's the home run guy, but Turner's probably the slightly better all-around hitter.
Yeah, agreed.
So this is an even one. This is one I'm not going to line up to pick. I like both of these guys. I think they're both good players. Looking at this, there's a couple guys in the Dodgers lineup this year that are a little bit more name than anything, like specifically A.J. Pollock. But when you look at that top 7 of the Dodgers right now, I mean, God, are they stacked?
They're so stacked, man.
I mean, when you have, again, A.J. Pollock is more name than actual production at this point, but he's your 7 hitter. You know what I mean? Like, this guy was a top 10 fantasy pick like 8 years ago, and he's legitimately batting at the bottom of the order and should be there. This isn't strategic. He is unquestionably a bottom of the order player for them.
For sure.
All right, next up, Bellinger versus Pence. I mean, assuming Pence is in the lineup, this one's also really simple. Bellinger, Betts, and Juan Soto, you can just almost take like free spaces.
Yeah, it's hard not to just lock these guys in here.
Right? I mean, credit to Hunter Pence for having a nice year last year and kind of bouncing back and everything like that. But Cody Bellinger is, I don't know, a perennial MVP candidate for the next 15 years.
Yeah, he's, I think you could say, like you said, Soto's a top 20 hitter. I think you could say Soto is arguably a top 15, 10 hitter right now, and Bellinger's probably higher than that.
Top 5, right? Yelich, Trout, Bellinger. I mean, those are the guys that come off the top of my head.
I think Betts is right there too.
Yeah, and then you get like into your boy Frankie Lindor and stuff like that. But there's no argument where he's not at least in debate for your top 5, right?
For sure.
Right. Okay. And he hits for power, and he can steal bases too. He's got a little bit of everything. All right, Austin Slater versus Evan Longoria. I don't really have one as of right now. I got to see a starting lineup on this one.
Same, 100%.
All right, Jock Peterson versus Corey Seager. I'm going to take a leap of faith and go with Corey Seager. Gut feeling, nothing more than that.
I'm going to go Seager also, but I'll add on to your gut feeling that much less likely to get pitch hit for.
There's that. Although I will say, this really doesn't mean anything. But Jock Peterson won me an opening day DK slate a couple of years ago because I think he had 2 home runs, including a grand slam or something along those lines. So now I'm getting all the warm fuzzies from Jock, but I'm still going to go with Corey Seager.
I get that. And before we even touch on the next one, I'm reading that Gavin Lux is not going to be starting for them right away. So we might just move on.
Okay, we can skip past it. One of your all-time favorite players, Brandon Crawford versus Alex Dickerson. Another one. I got to see a starting lineup here.
Yeah, but I struggle to pick Brandon Crawford over anyone in this matchup. I mean, against Kershaw, he's not a very good hitter anyway. Give me Dickerson here.
Yeah. It's too bad. Crawford can really pick it over at shortstop, and he had he had a year or two there where he was a solid hitter, but he has just really fallen off the last few seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another one, Dubon versus Beatty. Got to see a starting lineup. We talked about this for a long time yesterday when we were doing the kind of like the DK breakdowns. You can feel pretty good about what you expect out of the Nationals, Yankees, and Dodgers as far as lineups for day one go. I have absolutely no idea what San Francisco is going to throw out there. Even if you looked at the lineup they've been playing, I don't know that it means anything. It's just a bad baseball team with a lot of no names.
And they're also like injured / sick. So all the above. Right.
Again, I'm not sure if Matt Williams and Will Clark are going to play. Probably not. I have no clue what they're doing.
Me neither.
So if Dubon's leading off or something like that, that becomes an easy pick. But until then, we just have no clue.
Nope.
All right, guys. Thumbs up on the video is always appreciated. I would encourage everybody to go give it a whirl on Overlay. We got NBA coming back next week as well, which I'm sure most of you guys know. We'll be breaking down these videos a lot over the next month. I mean, football isn't that far away. We have a lot of sports to talk about. Assuming that everything can go off without a hitch. And again, until we see baseball, basketball, and football games, I think you and I are under the impression that we're a little bit worried about everything, which I'm sure most of you guys are too. But it's lined up to play 3 days from now. I'm feeling pretty good. We're at least getting the start of the baseball season.
I mean, I'm going to run with it. Now that we're starting to talk about it, I'm getting more excited about it. I was trying not to let myself get too hyped up, with so much unknown, but we're in it to win it now. It's coming back. It's coming back in a couple of days. So let's get it, man. I'm excited.
And I feel great about the NBA right now. They did the test, and nobody in the bubble has coronavirus out of all 387 NBA players, I think it was. That's awesome news. I mean, that's really, really good. Hopefully those guys can follow protocol, follow the advice of medical professionals, stick in the bubble. For some of you guys, you'll be out of there in a couple weeks. It's like a nice long vacation with your boys. And we can get our NBA, because as much as you're excited for baseball, as a Bucks fan, like I got to see these playoffs play out. I mean, I think we're in for some excitement right now, so bring it on.
Amen to all the above.
Double sports, baby, and football's not that far away. All right, guys, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.